Welcome to Grow Your Power, presenting skills and experiences of homesteading for anyone, anywhere who wants to save money, gain independence, reconnect to the natural world and to one's body. I am Ann Greenfield, and I'd like to invite you to come to your hearth, whatever that might be, while we share reflections on homesteading. Homesteading is multifaceted. I ultimately dedicated my whole life to homesteading, but you may not want to do that or be able to do that. But you can dabble in some of the skills and some of the attitudes and see for yourself. The first thing I'd like to talk about is increasing our connection with nature. Nature. I'm sure we've all been inspired by the beauty of nature or its intricacies. And we all know down deep that all our food comes from nature, even though sometimes in expensive packaging or contaminated. Our ancestors, hunter-gatherers, would find all their food, just as all animals do. They survived for eons without even farming, and no stores, no transcontinental transporting of foods. So let's honor the plants, really get to know them. They are essential to our lives. They are our food and our only supply of oxygen. Look at your yard or your land or public land to see what you can eat. Start connecting your belly to nature. The first food that I found was maybe some 30 years ago when I moved to a large piece of land with my two little daughters. And somehow someone had told me about sheep sorrel. And I found it for my daughters. It's a citric tasting. It has a large lobe and two smaller lobes off to the side. I called it ear lettuce for my daughters. And they were really excited to find it. I think that it felt like surprising that they could find something to eat right off the ground. So I and my children were off to discover and learn many things in the next 20 years or so. Homesteading was to become great learning fun. We learned from talking to neighbors how to recognize things like yerba buena, which is a mint leaf tea, and nettles, which is a very nutritious tea. We found blackberries and wild strawberries, of course, and a lot of salad greens like miner's lettuce and radish flowers, sourdough, watercress. We found medicinals like soaproot and plantain, which I'll talk about later. I was just recently taking a walk with a homesteading friend, and she stopped and picked some 2-inch sprouts, and they were thistle sprouts. She popped them into her mouth. She felt this was a good way to keep the thistle plant from maturing into the obnoxious weed that it can be, while getting some food. Gathering can be an adventure also. You may have to climb a tree or crawl on the ground. Or if you go to gather nettles, you will need to cover your whole body, and your hands especially, to protect yourself from the nettle leaves that emit an acid that is quite painful. The most fun adventure that I had gathering was when a friend of mine and I followed a rumor saying that there were hundreds of pounds of acorns laying on the Windsor Green. Windsor is a small suburb in California. So we traveled in our rustic clothing with our baskets and our bags to the Windsor Green, and sure enough, there were hundreds, maybe thousands of huge acorns laying on the green plaza. And then I laughed. Oh my God, what we must look like to the Windsorites, two ancient women, hunter-gatherers, coming down from the hills into modern civilization to gather their food. We took our acorns home to store and dry them in burlap or baskets until we were ready to shell and grind them. Then we would put into muslin cloth the amount of meal we wanted for breakfast, say, and leach it by running water through until the water ran clear. Just took a few minutes. Then we'd cook it up and the meal would become this delicious nutty porridge. It's definitely slow food, but not nearly as difficult as it sounds. And acorn meal cooked with cornmeal is especially good. There are other native trees that bear edible nuts and fruits, the wild hazelnut, for instance, and even bay trees. You can roast bay nuts, then roll them in cocoa powder, and they're really delicious. But they are tannic, so don't eat too many at a time. In Sonoma County, at least, there are many cultivated nut and fruit trees that have been abandoned in orchards, and many folks just don't harvest their fruit and nuts. And if they are approached, they often will generously let you pick. I had a friend who had a friend that had a walnut grove, and I came home feeling very rich with a winter supply of those expensive and sweet walnuts. We compensated the landowner by picking her a bag of nuts. There are many commercial apple trees that exist in Sonoma County, with abundance needing to be shared. I had a neighbor with a tree full of Gravensteins. I knocked on his door asking if I could pick some apples, and I offered him a baked apple pie in exchange. He was delighted with the trade, told me to take as many as I wanted. I think I canned applesauce and apple chutney, and I sliced and dried apples, all adding to my winter food supplies. And I had this warm, wonderful feeling in my chest. It was different than buying something for money. I just made this mutually satisfying trade. We can also gather many building materials. Baskets can be woven from thin hazelnut shoots, bay shoots, willow and bay branches. I would make my own baskets whenever I needed one. And also these strong yet flexible branches could create imaginably many things. Garden arches, furniture, artistic designs, backpack frames. Where I lived were abundant fir forests, and the young fir saplings grew straight and tall. I would go to an area where the young fir trees were rampant and encroaching on the native grasslands, and I would cut enough for a construction project. I owned a draw knife. I love draw knives. And by putting the sapling on a sawhorse, I could scrape the bark off with the draw knife and preserve the wood for construction projects. Then there's the age-old resource for heat, firewood, gathered as branches or the cutting of dead trees, or even taking down green trees in order to beneficially thin a forest. In gathering, I really think we need to train ourselves to keep the whole picture in mind. It's not easy. I'm still learning about this. I'm beginning to study each plant before I pick it, either by observation, from information from friends, or from good old Google. It is a good rule of thumb, though, to pick your harvest from a place where many plants of a species are growing, and not to take all of the crop. Think about who comes next, other harvesters, certain animals, or what 'tis the season. Curiously, what stage is the plant in? If the plant regenerates by seed, then be sure to leave some seed heads. Some perennials will regrow from the root with some leaves left. Lettuce will keep growing if you pick just a few leaves at a time, or if you cut it about an inch above the base, it will regrow. Some plants regenerate by vines left in the ground.
This poem shall speak of time. Time unlimited.
For many years, I heard the opinion that man is a destructive animal and that nature is best left alone. But one day, this community where I lived invited a Native American to speak, and he changed my thinking. His attitude was that man is a caretaker of nature, and that our role needs to be interactive, not exploitive, and not just observant. It's good, he said, for nature and for us to thin forests, to do controlled burns in order to refurbish the soil, to tend patches of dandelion, for example. To the Native American, any land that was not tended was considered a wasteland. For me, this restored my belief that we are as much a part of nature as a deer or a bee or a redwood tree. We belong too. But with our greater consciousness and skills, we must be more thoughtful and responsible. We're going to take a music break, and then I'll be back to talk about finding and using a few medicinals. I'm dedicating my music selections to acoustic, music that could be created in your living room or on your porch with no electricity needed. The piece you're about to hear is Gole by Abyssinia Infinite. Let's talk about the medicinals that can be found in nature also, like soaproot or wavy leaf soap plant. I'd been told of a folk remedy for poison oak, and I remembered it when my 11-year-old daughter contracted a bad case of poison oak that swelled up her face and eyes badly. A big social Easter event was happening in just 3 days, and Hannah was distraught at what she would look like. Our doctor suggested a shot of cortisone, but when I asked what side effects there could be, he said it could stunt her growth. Hannah exclaimed, "No way," and we left the doctor's office. We hiked around the large ranch where we lived and discovered a few plants here and there in shady or damp places. We were looking for the telltale leaves, medium green, long, linear leaves with wavy edges growing out of a base at ground level. We took a hand trowel to one, dug down about 6 inches, and pulled out a very tenacious brown, fibrous, hairy bulb. We stripped off the hairy fibers to uncover a white, pliable heart of the plant, which we mashed up with a little water and applied to Hannah's face. It was a miracle. In 2 days, the poison oak was gone. There's also a good reason why this plant is called soaproot. Harvested in the same way, it can be soap, shampoo, dish, or laundry detergent. I've also seen the hairy fibers made into paintbrushes. And the bulb boils into a kind of glue, I guess. And I've read that Native Americans cooked soaproot for a long period, like overnight, to release the saponin and yield a sweet and edible food. Recently, I've read more about soap plant, and it's quite an amazing plant. It seems that it has a period of 10 years from seed to seed. And interestingly, we took a walk one day up to Annandale Park in Santa Rosa and found the so plant, large patches of it. And 1 week later, we came back and noticed out of these plants were these sprigs about 3 feet tall, covered with budding white tubular flowers. We were there at the beginning of their next 10-year cycle. You can learn more about soaproot from the USDA Forest Service weekly newsletter. The Latin name is Chlorogallum pomeridianum. Another wild and favorite edible and medicinal of mine is plantain. It's strange that it has the same name as the banana-like fruit plantain, but I'm talking about plantago, which grows just about everywhere in Sonoma County. There are 2 varieties, Plantago lanceolata, which has long, narrow leaves. That's the one I've known about for years, and Plantago major, with shorter, more oval-shaped leaves. They both grow from a basal rosette and have vertical leaf veins. I think I first learned about plantain from my therapist at the time, 1980, a rather quirky man who drank his urine and instead of ever going to a dentist, swore that chewing plantain took care of the problem. I never followed his practices then, but Google agrees about the plantain at least, that as a mouthwash, plantain heals and prevents sores in the mouth. I don't know about cavities. In general, plantain is antibacterial and anti-inflammatory. And when I have a cut, rash, or insect bite, I chew a plantain leaf and then apply it to the afflicted area. I prefer to remember plantain as basically antibacterial and a soother to skin and inner tissue. There are so many uses for every plant. It just gets me down on my knees, just worshiping the plant kingdom. They are our major allies. Nettles, Urtica dioica, Urtica dioica. It's referred to as stinging nettles because the leaf and stem have hollow stinging hairs that inject histamine and other chemicals that give off a stinging sensation to our flesh. It always feels to me that I've just touched a handful of blackberry thorns, and I was very surprised to learn that this is a chemical reaction. So you're walking along in some relatively moist place, and to visually recognize a nettle plant, as opposed to touching it, look for an erect, strong stem, relatively tall, soft green leaves with serrated edges. The serrated edges are key. It may have greenish seeds, small clusters of it. So harvesting the nettle leaves, I assume you have gloves on, non-cloth gloves or leather gloves. Even a plastic bag over your hand will work. Take just the first 8-10 inches of leaves off the top and leave the bottom leaves and they will regrow. The plant is a perennial. Nettles die back in the winter and splurge forth in spring and summer. One little adage that I've heard is that wherever an injurious plant grows, there's something nearby that is an antidote. In this case, there's usually plantain around or sour dock. So just masticate a plantain leaf or a sour dock leaf and rub it on the sting from the nettle. At home, just put the nettle leaves in a paper bag and let them dry and toss them frequently. If you don't want to do that, you can lay them out in a dark, dry place. And after they're dried, I crumble the leaves off and the stems and store in a glass jar for tea. I used to drink a nettle tea every night. I love it. It felt healthy drinking it, as it's rich in vitamin A and C, iron, potassium, manganese, 25% protein, calcium. The mature leaves, omega-3s. Soaking the nettles in water or cooking them removes the stinging chemicals nicely. Just drying them also does this. I've made pesto successfully with nettles, omelets, and stir-fries. Though when nettles are cooked, they have a strange, funny, furry texture to them. Nettle leaf is cited among the most valuable of herbal remedies. It gently cleanses the body of waste, eliminating uric acid from the joints, reducing the pain and immobility of arthritis. The fresh, stinging nettle plant, I understand, is used to strike the inflamed joint, and then healing will occur. Fun. Back to nettle leaf tea. Very beneficial during pregnancy and lactation. It's highly nutritive, eases labor pains, and increases milk production. Nettle tea is recommended for premenstrual syndrome, urinary issues, hay fever, and asthma. And topically, the tea is used for acne and eczema. And by the way, nettle stems contain a fiber which has been used for 2,000 years to make clothing. I'd be interested to know if anyone around here has experimented with nettle fiber. I'm going to take another musical break, and then I will be back to talk about a lichen called usnea that's very useful to us. The upcoming music is Stuck in the Middle, played by a young Sonoma County bluegrass group, contemporary bluegrass I call it. The group is called One Grass, Two Grass, Red Grass, Bluegrass, although I've heard that they've shortened their name to One Grass, Two Grass. Here is Stuck in the Middle.
I'm stuck in the middle with you, and don't know what it is I should do. It's a part that wipes a smile from my face, losing control all over the place. Bounds to left me, troubles to right. Here I am stuck in the middle with you. Where you started off nothing, proud that you're self-made man. Then they all come calling, slap it on back and say, let's go now, the little fiddle. Sense at all. There's a cool if I sleep on the floor. You don't think I can take anymore. Bounds you left me, troubles to right. Here I am stuck in the middle with you. Where you started off nothing, proud that you're self-made man. Let me off and call and slap you on back and say, let's go now, the little banjo. Something is right. I'm downstairs. Rounds to left me, jumps to right. Here I am, stuck in the middle with you. Rounds to left me, jumps to right. Here I am, stuck in the middle with you. Rounds to left me, jumps to right. Here I am.
Usnea, that's spelled U-S-N-E-A. Usnea is a lichen hanging from trees, pines, firs, oaks, aging apple trees. It's often called grandfather's beard. Its color is gray-green, and its branchings are round, not flat. But the easiest to define trait is its elastic innards. If you pull the gray-green apart, you will find always a tiny, stretchy white rope. It's exciting to find it. I had heard years ago that Usnea was an immune booster, and so whenever I felt sickness coming on, I would gather some fresh Usnea and make a cup of tea. I believe in it. It's stronger than echinacea. So you can make tea from the fresh or dry Usnea. I've read that its properties, however, extract best in an alcohol tincture, and I'll describe how to do that in a minute. Just a moistened bunch of Usnea topically held to a wound will be antibiotic and lead to a faster healing. It can also be used topically for fungal infections like athlete's foot and vaginal infections. One herbalist cites that Usnea is a good trailside nibble. A warning: always pick your herbs from a non-polluted area. Usnea in particular is especially vulnerable to absorbing heavy metals. Usnea rebalances bacteria and eradicates infection throughout the mucous membranes, mouth, lungs, gut, urinary tract. And this is amazing. As an antibiotic, Usnea is stronger than penicillin with some bacteria, specifically staph and strep. In China, it is used in some cancer therapies. So, to make a tincture of Usnea, fill a jar with Usnea and then cover it with 100 proof vodka. Let it sit in a cabinet for 6 weeks. Strain it and pour it into dropper bottles if you wish. Usnea is not suggested for pregnant women as it could cause uterine contractions. There are several hundred species of Usnea, all with the white elastic innards. So happy collecting. We're going to be playing some more music, and this would be a perfect time for you to call in with any questions you have about what I've said, or to contribute your experiences or skills information. And thank you for participating. I have loved this next music group for a long time. It's Baka Beyond, and I'm playing their song, Mabi. Gathering. We can also gather food from the road. I'm sure you've noticed roadkill as you drive along the country roads of Sonoma County, but not many people stop to pick up a roadkill. I have, and I believe it's good to use a roadkill to feed your family. One can do it respectfully and gratefully. I think there's a myth about eating a roadkill, that the meat is dirty and disgusting and would rot out there, and dangerously so. Not quite true. My friends who taught me how to harvest a roadkill taught me to trust my nose, smell it for decay, and cut out any bloody, bruised areas from the meat. Of course, if you've come upon a roadkill and before you even get out of your car you can smell it, forget it. This is my amazing story that I tell everyone. One day, I drove out of Bodega to do errands in Sebastopol. It was noon on a very hot day. Very rare for Bodega, but definitely hot. I saw a large antlered buck dead at the side of the highway, and I figured it had been probably dead since dawn. Dawn and dusk are the prime times for wildlife to be out. Well, around 2 o'clock, I returned from town, and the buck was still there. My primitivist mentor was out of town, and I had been secretly wanting to try my own hand in bringing in a roadkill, so I went for it. I tried to pull the deer up onto my truck's tailgate, but it was too heavy. So I went to our local coffee shop looking for someone to help. I was a local supporter of coffee, and I knew the owner of the coffee shop pretty well. Guess I sparked her sense of adventure. She immediately closed up shop and helped me get that buck into my truck. We did it. The two women did it. But I wasn't sure if the meat would be good since it had been laying out there probably 8 hours and in the hot sun for 5 hours. I took the deer home, hung it, dehydrated it, gutted it, probably let it hang there overnight, and the next day I cut and processed the meat. I smelled it and cut off a few blood-damaged places. The meat was excellent, excellent. You need to just use your eyes and nose. On one of my upcoming Grow Your Power shows, I will be interviewing my friend Jay, a local expert in harvesting deer, and he will give us harvest details. He's also harvested other animals. Squirrel, I believe, possum. That should be interesting.
As I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the starry crown? Good Lord, show me the way. Oh, sisters, let's go down, come on down. Oh, sisters, let's go down in the river to pray. As I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old...
Today on Grow Your Power, I've been talking about connecting to nature, connecting our bellies to nature, in the simplest way, by finding or gathering wild plants that can be eaten, or made tea from, or can be used as medicinals. I'm hoping in gathering plants you will take time to honor the plant.
As I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way.
And in my dusty old files, I found an Alice Walker quote that seems very pertinent to this. It comes from the Gospel According to Shug. That's S-H-U-G. Helped, she writes, are those who find something in creation to admire each and every hour. Their days will overflow with beauty, and the darkest dungeon will offer gifts. I am ending my show today with more acoustic music. This would be a great time for you to call in with any questions, comments, or to share any of your experiences in homesteading or the specific skill of gathering food. The subject of my next show
in a couple weeks will be homesteading as it pertains to growing your food, perhaps all your own food.
Down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the star